our webinar. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today, which is being hosted as part of London Climate Action Week 2023. Today, we're going to be talking about community energy. And why is that important? Well, it's really important in this context because community energy generates 12 to 13 times more community benefit than commercial schemes, according to a government report commissioned. And today we've got a wealth of expertise in this particular area. I'm Lisa Ashford. Welcome, everyone. I'm CEO of Ethex, and Ethex is a direct impact investment platform, and we have raised around £150 million for communities and social enterprises to do good. And a large percentage of these have been community energy projects over the last 10 years around the UK. And we're going to hear from a selection of those today, as well as some other really interesting people. So let me just introduce them, and then we'll run through some housekeeping and we will start the webinar. So alongside me today, I have Tim Davies-Pugh, who is Chief Executive of Power to Change, a real supporter of community energy over the years. Karina Miller from Power for People, who are local electricity bill champions, and she's going to tell you more about that and why it's so important. We have Bola Adebanjo, who is one of the non-exec directors of Bristol Energy Cooperative, who are currently live on the Ethex platform alongside Anne Flaherty from Solar for Schools. Welcome, Anne, lovely to see you. And we also have Dave Green, who is representing Community Energy Together, as well as being one of the directors of Shropshire and Telford Community Energy. And he's going to tell us more about what Community Energy Together is trying to achieve and why that's so important. So you can enter any questions you would like through the chat function. I will try and answer those as we go through the webinar, or I will leave them for a Q&A session at the end. We are recording the session, so if you can't stay to the end, we will send out the link and you can always watch it back. If there are any resources which are mentioned throughout the webinar, we will try and give you a link to any of those. And just to say, this isn't a financial promotion and we can't offer any individual financial advice. We'll be running the webinar for about an hour today, so we'll keep it tight and hopefully you can enjoy a coffee as we go. Brilliant. Okay, welcome everyone. So I'd like to hand over to Tim, first of all, who's going to kick us off and talk about the need for community energy as part of this wider clean energy transition in the UK. So Tim, over to you.
Thanks, Lisa, and well, good to be talking about this on this platform in this week, really. So Power to Change, we've been a long-time supporter of community energy through our support for community businesses, which we very much see as kind of being quite integral to this whole movement, really. You know, we know from our research and evidence that, you know, where there are local ownership, local connection to, you know, services, spaces and systems that are owned by the community, then they just provide better value to the public purse, keep the resources and jobs more local, and have a, you know, a strong element of creating community wealth and local economy activity and resilience. And the whole community energy movement is exactly in that same space. So it's really good to hear the government support for community energy. We've certainly seen it ourselves. Chris Skidmore MP cited that, you know, his engagement with community business made him the most, you know, optimistic he could be about the ability of the UK to reach a sort of net zero in his review. As you know, that communities could really galvanise that together. So, you know, that's good to hear. But we also know that you know, over 70% of community businesses that responded to our report, market survey report, said that the way that they trade or operate was improving the environment and tackling climate change as well. So they actually kind of almost hardwire in some of those community energy and net zero greener economy aspects to it. And I guess it's really, even more acute in this, in the current sort of climate that we're sitting in at the moment. We seem to be sort of lurching from crisis to crisis. We come out of a pandemic, which has had a kind of massive impact on people's lives, and move into a cost of living crisis, which is exacerbated by energy costs. And the volatility of that is kind of, it doesn't seem to be calming down anytime soon. And I think for us, we see the notion of sort of economic stability and inequality being linked very much to sort of climate, and so energy plays a significant role in that sort of role in changing the nature of how communities can survive and build resilience in this. So I suppose moving on to the kind of a bit about what we see, what we can evidence and champion about where community-owned energy can really make a difference. So we absolutely have supported this for a good few years. We pumped a lot of money into helping community businesses develop community energy schemes, looking at the sort of net zero. And we know that, with community-owned assets, a higher percentage of money spent in them stays within the sort of local community than it does with private sector organisations, and that's replicated in the whole energy market as well. So we put money into a scheme in Bristol, Ambition Lauren Weston, who are currently building one of the largest onshore wind turbines, currently about to operate, and it's going to be able to provide enough energy for nearly 4,000 homes, saving nearly 2,000 tons of CO2. But what's also really important is its profit is returned back into the community as well. So not only do you get that energy resilience, that stability of energy, as well as contributing to the sort of net zero, it's actually generating resources and benefit for the local community. And we know that on our kind of fuel poverty work, that for £9 of social benefit is generated for every £1 spent when it's a community energy scheme. So again, we just see this really kind of quite important link between the notion of creating much more resilience and stability in the energy market in actually helping communities to grow and prosper across the board. And then I suppose the only thing I'd kind of also then want to talk about a little bit is that kind of renewable energy overall. So we've invested about £10 million into community energy directly through schemes like LCAW, which is community-owned renewable energy, a series of solar farms that we're transferring into community ownership, which again has that ability to not only create a more cost-effective, stable kind of energy resource for the communities that it serves, but also generating ongoing community benefit as well, rather than the profits going into private hands. So it has that ability to keep renewing, keep driving that prospect forwards. And then alongside that, we've also been trying to sort of experiment and help support a range of other innovative ideas around kind of solar charging, community electric sort of delivery schemes, just a kind of whole range of measures that we hope will kind of again help communities to sort of really overcome the notion of the challenges that is being presented to us. So I think that's kind of our kind of case for why we think community energy is kind of really important. So I'll hand back to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Tim. And let's just take that to the next level. Once we have these amazing community energy schemes all over the country, how can we then try and link those directly to the communities that they're generating in order to be able to supply the electricity, because that's often what people want. Actually, they really want to see those projects actually supplying them, and obviously they have to just connect to the grid, and that's not possible. But Karina here is going to tell us a bit more about what the lobbying work they've been doing around the local electricity bill.
Hi, everyone. Yes, thank you so much, Lisa. So basically, it's kind of we've been working on this campaign since about 2017. So a while now, including during COVID. That's when 2017 is when our founder, Steve Shaw, decided to make this his sole focus for Power for People. It was just him to begin with. He actually worked on just a few campaigns of that ended up becoming law. So the Doorstop Recycling Act. That means that obviously we all get our recycling taken away every week, or every other week in my case. And also the Climate Change Act of 2008. But the local electricity bill is a bill we drafted, and it has been introduced in Parliament. It's an approach that I think is where we kind of stand out as an organization, especially for our size. If made law, it would enable community energy run schemes to sell their clean power locally. So that would mean it would make, making new schemes financially viable, being properly remunerated for the generation that these schemes are actually contributing, and realizing a huge potential for more schemes. Because right now, as I'm sure anyone who's part of a community energy scheme can vouch for, most people who are working are volunteers. It's not a viable business at the moment because there's no route to market. Schemes get around, I don't know if this is still accurate, around 5 pence, potentially even less per kilowatt hour right now for the electricity they sell to the national grid. And we as consumers buy it for around 30 pence plus per kilowatt hour. And the aim of the campaign is to make sure that these groups actually get a fair price for the clean energy they generate. We believe those profits should be in the market. The profits should go directly to the generators. At the moment, our focus is seeing this done through getting the bill included in a piece of government legislation called the Energy Bill. Our clauses to the Energy Bill, which are basically the same wording of the local electricity bill. We got them in the House of Lords. They were voted into the bill itself because they weren't originally part of it. And then we campaigned and had a lot of people writing to their MPs and basically pushing. And we worked with some of the Lords in the House of Lords to actually get those clauses in the bill itself, which was great. The bill then moved to the House of Commons, and it has been debated on. And our clauses actually around a week ago were voted to be removed from the bill, which was obviously very disappointing. But we did expect this. It wasn't kind of a big surprise because the government doesn't currently support what we are calling for. So we have been in talks with the Energy Minister, Andrew Bowie, who has promised, this was actually yesterday, a big update yesterday, who has promised in Parliament that, quote, something is coming. We don't know what that is yet. But it seems that, the amount of pressure we've been putting on the government and the amount of people who have been writing to their MPs has been absolutely detrimental in causing the government to say, okay, wait a second, we need to do something about this now. Lisa, so sorry, I just wanted to, should I go on to the next bit for what's the campaign asking for?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt during. So in terms of what the campaign is asking for and what we've achieved so far, we've achieved 323 MPs that back the local electricity bill itself. And that's from a cross-party basis. So that's nearly half of the House of Commons. Half would be 325. This includes over 120 Labour MPs and 128 Conservative MPs. The campaign is really, we're really intentionally trying to make it cross-party. It's also now in the Labour Party policy, SNP party policy, Green Party policy, and Lib Dem party policy. And this has only happened because of the massive grassroots advocacy that we've been organizing over the years across the country. We find overwhelmingly that people want to act to help their communities and the environment. And we like to think that we kind of help people find a way to do this by helping them write to their MP, helping them lobby, helping them feel like they have a voice in the government right now. We've also brought together over 110 national authorities and a coalition of 80 national organizations in support. To name a few, Ethex, National Trust, Greenpeace, Friends of the Earth, RSPB, CPRE, just to name a few. We were also recently featured in a BBC article because of a letter to the energy minister we published, which was signed by over 60 national organizations. I'm happy to provide a link to that as well. And I guess I'll just end with what is it that you can do as an individual to help out? So the biggest thing you can do is sign up to the campaign on our website, www.powerforpeople.org.uk. We send one email a month updating you on the progress of the campaign and, give you some information on how you can support. More often than not, we will ask you to write to your MP. This is a hugely important ask. We can help you draft an email and we can help you reply and continue conversations with your MP. Because when you do receive an email back, it is vital that you keep talking. We don't, it's so important to continue to communicate with your MP. We don't have anything like kind of a standard, copy pasted email. We found that that's really ineffective because a lot of MPs actually have filters on their email systems to filter out copy pasted or repeat emails. But we understand people can feel it can be a bit daunting writing to your MP. So we're more than happy at any point to help you draft something. Having a clear ask is so important, writing in your own words, and just feeling like you are confident and feeling like you can just MPs are, at the end of the day, they work for us. So it's really important to continue to communicate with them and say, please support this bill, please support what they're calling for. This is really important. And you can find a list of MPs that do support the bill on our website. We also have a kind of blog post debunking the government line of their points on why they're not supporting this at the moment, and blogs to update you on the status of the campaign. So, if you have not signed up to the campaign, we really, really would appreciate it at powerforpeople.org.uk.
Good. We hear loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you,
Karina. So that's something really tangible that you can do. So thank you to Karina for outlining that. And I think it's a super interesting area, and the evolution of community energy is certainly heading in that direction, and everybody can play a part to help that along its way. So how do we make this whole sector bigger? How can we have a stronger voice by doing more of what we're doing? And let's just look at the blockers for a moment to these community energy schemes and how we can enable more to come forward and be developed. And also why in particular is this particularly interesting? How does it democratize energy generation, etc.? So Tim, question to you as Power to Change. At what stage does Power to Change fund these projects? So, and where do they go in terms of that development finance that they need to assess whether there's a suitable community renewable project in the area? Or and then perhaps I'll go to a few of the panelists as well to just chip in on their particular experiences as well.
Yeah, so I think from Power to Change's perspective, our role was always to see how we kind of get these things up and tested, so that hopefully there's models that people can use to attract other funders to sort of put money behind them, because we're not a significant funder our resources are kind of not, not the same as mainstreaming other funding schemes. So when we kind of enter into the community energy market, it's often about trying to test things and see how they can work. And therefore we then publish as much information about what works and equally what doesn't work, with the hope that people can use that evidence to sort of get schemes up and running. Having said that, we're kind of big supporters of things like Booster and the community shares market, and it would be nice to see the increase in feed-in tariffs that we've seen in previous years as a way of actually helping those schemes to sort of get the funding up front, so they can demonstrate that they can make themselves sustainable. So with our current big scheme around core, we're kind of looking to publish how that's worked, where people can then look at access to finance to replace or to create their own schemes going forwards. But all the time we're looking for innovative new ideas that we can help support, test, and then hopefully publish how this works so other people can pick them up and run with them.
Brilliant, thank you. And Bola, coming to you, hi. Obviously you're representing Bristol Energy Cooperative today. That particular organisation is one of the most sort of long-standing in the sector. How has the organisation developed in terms of, when they were just operating on a sort of single project basis to now developing to the point where, this is a really credible, strong, robust organisation that is really scaling up its generation?
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. So just to give a bit of background, Bristol Energy Co-op was set up 2011, so we are 12-year-old, and it's currently made up of, well, it was set up with a combination of, community partners and energy groups within Bristol City. So we actually started within the city, but now we do collaborate locally, regionally, and we've got national partners. We currently have just 8 employees, so we're not big, but we've got motivated, energized, very passionate employees. And then we've got a board of just 6 voluntary non-exec directors, including myself. And in terms of what we've been able to achieve within the 12 years, as you said, we started really small, but with the passion and the drive to expand and make things better, giving back to the community, we have so far delivered 17 clean energy projects, mainly, community ownership based. We've also completed successfully 14 rooftop installations of solar PVs, again, into our community, mainly around installing on community centers. We also have 2 solar farms, which are thriving with support from our partners. And then we've got the battery storage capacity that will provide back into the community. So in ordinary language, day-to-day language, what does that mean? So we are providing enough energy to power over 3,000 homes in the community and across, regionally and in other communities that we're partnering with. So day-to-day, what motivates us is to be able to provide the benefits needed by the society. And how do we do this? Basically, it's mainly looking at how we could ensure that the community benefits from renewable technology, because the more they benefit directly and it's impacting their day-to-day lives, then the more interest or invested interest they will have to become part of the energy transition. And what we've been doing, which we started in Bristol, was installing solar rooftop PVs in our community centers. So not only were we installing the PVs, but also we were managing that, and we're still managing the PVs once it's installed. And then we agree a price with them that would be much lower than what they would pay their normal energy supplier. So we sell back the energy to them at much lower cost. And by doing that, the community centers within Bristol and surrounding we are so proud to say that we are giving back over £20,000 yearly savings back to the community centers and back to us, to our partners. And the way we do that is by partnering with them to install the PVs, but also we manage it on their behalf. So that way it's not any burden on them, but rather we are making them part of the transition as we progress. We also give back in other ways. We have a charity which we give donations to different charities across, not just Bristol, but also deserving partners across. We do have a research fund, which we provide to, fund improving research around clean energy. And we also give funding, which we do via the Megawatts Community Energy Fund. And also really proud to say that one of the beneficiaries that we had recently was the Black and Green Ambassador, which their focus is to ensure that there is inclusivity, and also, you have more community presence in terms of the benefit and the drive of who are getting involved in environmental movements. And they were one of the, amongst many, that have benefited from, what we do into the community. But we do have, very importantly, some projects that are ongoing, which are really close to our hearts. And one of this is the Water Lily's microgrid in Bristol. So this is another one, very passionate, very close to home. And what is this? So this is the first, and again, really proud to say that it's the first UK domestic housing microgrid with power storage. So we are providing this energy, clean energy, to over 33 homes in a community hub. And we're also giving them the required energy via, air source heat pump. We are encouraging and providing EV car charging clubs. We have Tesla battery being provided to store the energy, but also when it is needed, we can also sell, the feedback into the grid. So we are trying to create a more self-sustaining community hub and providing the energy they need to get this sustainability. We're not just doing this within the Bristol community, we're also expanding. We have another very passionate, close to our heart project, which is the Bridgeport co-housing microgrid, which is in Dorset. So not too far, but it's not just limiting that to Bristol. And this includes 38 homes, 15 apartments, again, community hub. And with this, we're providing 210 kilowatts per hour solar PV. We're also providing them air source heat pumps for space heating and also hot water. We also have on-site, battery storage, and then we are providing car club, which is, EV charging capability. So how do we do all this? It's by getting funding. We raise funds, we do notes, and we do also have share offers that we use to raise funding for us. So far, we've raised over 15 million over the past 12 years to support all the good work that is being done. And we do have a share offer, which is our share offer number 9 that is live. So please do support us. It is currently live. We've only so far achieved 33% of our target. So we are counting on people to support us so we can continue providing this community benefits. The more community benefits we provide into our community and other communities that we're partnering with in other regions and also nationally, then the more, communities will be invested and more interested in being part of this, transition and clean energy evolution. And we're also going to continue our charity, our funding, research funding for environmental research that are being done, not just within our community, to emphasize that, even though we're called Bristol Energy Corp, we have expanded and we want to keep expanding. So please do support us. We'll be able to provide more detail of the share offer if needed, but please do support us. We are looking to do more.
Thank you. You're live on the Ethex website. People can find out more information there. Thank you for such a passionate introduction to Beck. That is what we like to see. And also particularly interesting to hear about the inclusivity part,
Yes.
which I think is extremely interesting and something which I think within the sector we need to pay more attention to, and really interesting with regards to the community hub, the integrated services, that is starting to take community energy to the next level. Speaking of which, so I want to bring Anne into the conversation as well. Anne, one of the directors of Solar for Schools, and really interesting model, which is helping obviously schools to be able to generate their own electricity and to be able to replicate that across many schools around the UK. So potential for scaling is massive. So Anne, how have you, getting back to this question of, you know, how have you been able to do that development work? You know, what has been your model and how have you managed to achieve that sort of growth and the ability to replicate so well?
So Lisa, hi there, and hello everyone. So really, just like Bola, really in the same way, what we're doing is we're supplying solar power through to schools at a low cost, which means that we're able to then provide the schools with, you know, that financial benefit. I think the beauty of Solar for Schools, though, is that it reaches communities directly, because the school is in itself its own community. And then the parents and families are sort of a local community. Again, what's beautiful about Solar for Schools is that it's national. So we are absolutely passionate about every individual having equal access to solar power. So we, as you know, Lisa, we raise through Ethex nationally, and then we deploy the funds nationally, which means that many schools in many deprived areas of the country, which, you know, locally might not be able to actually support their own investment, are able to benefit from the solar power. And for us, it's not only a financial gain for the schools. You know, we lead very heavily on an educational benefit that comes as a result of having the solar power, because, you know, installing it takes a couple of weeks, but once you've got it, you've got to make sure that you're getting that value through the operational efficiency of the system, so it delivers, you know, the carbon savings. It delivers on the finances, saving the schools money, so they get a better value, as Tim was saying, for the public money that they're spending on their energy, and that they're getting that social benefit through, because, as I say, we lead on decarbonisation and education through to the students year on year. As they're going through, and, you know, that will help decarbonize society much faster, because, you know, by educating young people, they come out the other side of it and they're passionate to make sure that, you know, something happens locally within their areas. So so that's how we're really scaling up, and we're joining forces with quite a few local energy groups who may be looking to achieve their own programs on their own community buildings, but we work with them on the schools just to help them understand how we do it, so they can do it better themselves, but also that way we all achieve more. And as I say, we've got a lot of passionate people who are looking at powering schools locally.
I wonder if you could just touch upon some of the funding that you've managed to raise to sort of like build out your whole platform, educational platform, etc. Because I think that's a really interesting element to how you're taking the whole model to the next sort of level, if you like, and really engaging individuals at the schools and children, etc., who hopefully then go and tell their parents and their grandparents and their friends, and you get that brilliant ripple effect.
Yeah, so I mean, we raise funding through individuals. We've got a very, very good investor base already. And then we tended to use Ethex to raise money for our projects. But we've invested as ourselves, as a company, we've invested in a lot of IT so that we can, you know, review schools very quickly and easily to see, you know, how we can deploy solar onto them. We're very efficient in that way of doing things. But I mean, as you say, educationally, we actually do a lot on site. On site makes such a difference. So when we're doing our maintenance work and everything like that, we're into schools, we're running workshops, we get children involved from day one. So that they are, as you say, Lisa, they're going back into their communities, back to their parents, they're telling them all about it. And that's, again, fueling other, you know, homes to actually look at, you know, families to look where possible to look at, you know, actually installing their own solar. So there is that ripple effect. But it is, you know, the reason our installers love installing on schools is because, you know, they'll spend time with students on that journey. So it's not just about getting in there, getting the solar on the roof. It's all about that that journey for the students, for the local community, and involving people along the way. So as I say, with some of the local energy groups, how the people get involved is they're very passionate themselves, and they'll go to their local school and say, you know, why don't you join? You know, this is all about it, and we share that journey with them as well. So so it is about, you know, reaching out to communities and seeing what we can do for them.
Yeah, thank you. Truly democratizing community energy, all the way down to kids, which is brilliant, because they're going to be the ones who will be building the next generation of community energy schemes. So let's start them off early. So Dave is going to give us some background on this. Well, first of all, you're representing, you've got two hats today, at least, representing Shropshire and Telford Community Energy. But also part of this bigger scheme, this Community Energy Together portfolio, which is a really exciting initiative that Power to Change and Big Society Capital have been backing. And if you could just tell us about that, because I think it's really interesting to think about how we're starting to pull some of those commercial assets that have been set up, which obviously are providing great environmental benefit, but aren't necessarily providing any community benefit. And we're pulling them into the community energy sector and creating so much more benefits and helping to expand the overall capacity of community-owned renewable energy in the UK, so that we can actually become a much bigger group of organisations and a much bigger voice, which is obviously going to help Karina in time as well, so we can just take over the entire energy system in due course.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Yeah, so I'm Dave Green. I'm Director of Shropshire and Telford Community Energy. We're a new group. We were set up specifically to take the 10 megawatt solar farm, Tremlow's solar farm in North Shropshire, into community ownership. It's 6-7 years old. It's been running. It's been owned by the developers. Core bought it and took it into their sort of trust ownership, and then been looking for a society to take it over and run it from here on in. So we're joined together with 4 other groups. So that's Yelm in Somerset, Isle of Wight, Kent and Gower in South Wales. Between us, we will be buying 36 megawatts of solar farms, which will add, we reckon, around 20% to the community-owned solar in England and Wales. So it's a significant gear change, if you like, it's a unique offer, I think. Hopefully all 5 of us will be launching our share offer at the same time later in the summer. Gower are slightly behind, but we think they're catching up. And this will be launched on Ethex as a group offer with national publicity to go alongside the local effort. Now, if you buy shares, you will be buying shares in Shropshire and Telford Community Energy in Twemlow's, but we have a linkage. The 5 groups will be working together and supporting each other. And one of the ways we've done that is we've basically taken on a very large, what they call cross-collateralized loan, to bring in the jargon. So we've managed to get a very good deal from Aberdeen on the primary senior financing for these schemes. So we're looking to raise 2.5 million between us in share offer at this stage, and then we'll be looking to raise further money to pay off some of the loans over the coming sort of 5 years or so. It's really great. It's a wonderful scheme, but some people say, well, what's the point? Because the solar farms are already there. They're already generating. They're already saving carbon. Well, they are saving carbon, but the profit is going into the hands, has been going into the hands of the local developers with a relatively small community benefit fund. So between us, we should be generating around £20 million in community benefit over the next 20 years. And what we want to see is to make sure that that money is well spent. Now, some of it is going to go on play equipment or community orchards, or all good things that communities need, but we're keen to see as much of it as possible actually going into further community energy and renewable energy schemes. So we're already putting solar panels on community buildings, giving grants for. We're not doing it because they're the sort of buildings it's very difficult to find a financial model in the way Bristol Community Energy are doing. So we're giving grants to people to do energy efficiency work and put solar panels on. We've also been doing a lot of work, again, with help from Power to Change through their Next Generation grant. So thanks a lot, Tim, for your support in here. We've been doing some work looking at other larger scale community energy projects in Shropshire, including a Bishop's Castle heat and wind network project, which will probably be of interest to Caroline, who was asking a question about off-gas grid communities in the chat. So there, we're hoping to install a 1 megawatt wind turbine feeding air source heat pumps, feeding heat to an off-gas grid community. So we'll take one unit of energy out of the wind, and we'll turn it into 3 units of heat. Anyway, that's a slight aside. But the important thing is that what we're doing is we're creating STCE as a credible organisation with a name and a reputation and a cash flow that will be able to go on and do much bigger things. So it's not just about buying Twemlow's. It's not just about the 36 megawatts of the 20 million in community benefit. It's about moving on from there and doing so much more.
Yeah, brilliant, Dave. And just really important point that a lot of the community energy schemes in the UK, out of the surpluses that they create, this community benefit, many make those grants available to other community energy organisations in the making, or even people with potentially ideas, and that's what helps to then sow those seeds so that we are beginning to multiply, and obviously the benefits can increase, which is fantastic, as well as really from a democratic point of view, the communities are telling these groups this is what we want. Actually, this isn't necessarily a top-down, oh, we think that this is a really good idea, therefore we're going to drop these funds into specific projects. Often the community groups will set up some kind of process where the community can really have a voice and determine how that money is spent, which is so important. So this grassroots kind of action, but really beginning to bubble up into more and more schemes across the UK.
Lisa,
So, yes.
I think what's really interesting about Solar for Schools, which a lot of people don't realise actually, is that we're very unique as a community, because our members are actually the schools who have the solar on them, rather than the individuals who have made the investment. And any of the profits that are generated by that community are actually distributed by the community members, who are the schools, back to the schools. And that has a real benefit through to the schools. So they see their community growing, and you know, any financial benefits coming back to the schools as a result of you know, their investment in a program that's seeing, you know, renewable energy coming through into their schools. And you know, it's so important that you know, schools do get that, you know, great value for money in terms of, you know, what they're doing and where they're at.
Absolutely. Thank you, Anne. So let's go to some of the questions, if we can try and run through some of those. So there was a question around offsetting. We won't go into the details right now because it's quite a big topic around double counting, but basically it's quite limited in the UK in terms of what can be counted as an offset. So perhaps we can provide some reading on that rather than delving into it right now. Good. Someone's asked for the research, which I'm sure we can try and find the link to that and send it out after the session. There was a question around what kind of organisations might qualify as a community. And I just popped in there around community benefit societies. Many of these schemes are set up as community benefit societies, which is a specific legal entity. Some of them are cooperatives. Some of them are KICs, which is a community interest company. And if you go to the Co-ops UK website, I'm sure you can read a lot more good stuff about that if you have any further questions on that. Right, let's have a look. How can community energy schemes support local green businesses and green jobs training as separate entities, as green energy is a new asset? I'm going to throw that one to Tim. Any ideas on that one?
I guess it perhaps runs back into some of the points Dave was making about recycling, you know, the sort of funding from other schemes, and you know, looking at how if you're actually developing, you know, kind of you have a commitment to sort of getting community benefit from a community scheme, perhaps using some of that money to sort of create space for training for, you know, the green jobs, green technology. We have put some funding in through again, something that Dave mentioned, through our Next Gen program, where we have tried to sort of think about different ways of creating you know, kind of green technologies, green energies. But yeah, others might have more interesting smaller sort of opportunities that they can refer to as well.
Yeah, I think just from our side of it, it's that upskilling of young people. You know, if they can really understand what energy is about, you know, how many people can conceptualize what a kilowatt hour is? You know, most people struggle enormously, even with a kilogram, let alone a kilowatt hour of energy. And I think what we're trying to do through Solar for Schools is really, you know, build on young people and their knowledge, you know, and their desire to know more about renewables. You know, it's their investment in their futures, and so we're very keen that we can, if we can look at upskilling people so that they do have a much broader and also more specific, actually, understanding of renewable energy, so that they can, you know, take jobs in the green economy moving forward. And there's a
Yeah.
lot in the industry that's happening. You know, there's a lot of manufacturers and people like that within the industry who want to see, you know, things changing. So I think there are some huge opportunities that are going to come into play in the not too distant future for young people.
Can I just say, for Bristol Energy Co-op, we have had a few, again, we're a very small organization, but we have had apprenticeship, you know, opportunities, because the young, you know, younger people are a lot, you know, more keen and zeal to contribute and get involved in, you know, green energy, reducing carbon footprints. And also we have, you know, in the past 12 years, provided or given back via charities or donations, and we do fund research. About £350,000 so far has been put into that to help not just the communities, but also it depends on the kind of business. So if it's a green business, if there's enough justification and, you know, understanding the business case or what they want to use it for, then it's something that can be considered and has been considered in the past. So there are opportunities out there, and, you know, Bristol Energy Co-op, we do support and give back to the society. And it's not just Bristol, it's, you know, looking wider, a bigger picture around what we mean by the community and what we mean by a society, please.
Yeah, that's important to note, because often with these community benefit societies, the community is not just actually the local geographic community, it's also a community of like-minded people across the UK who believe that renewable energy generation and community-driven renewable energy generation is really important, so that, you know, you get that more interesting sectoral bias as well. And there is also, so interestingly, I think we are in the UK really quite far behind in terms of training schemes and apprenticeships for young people for this particular sector. I was talking to someone yesterday, and apparently Germany has got really well developed training schemes. If you're an engineer, you know, you get the opportunity to be a renewable and green engineer. We just raised money a couple of months ago for an organisation who is specifically looking at trying to encourage female engineers into retrofitting housing for renewable energy, which is, you know, women are majorly underrepresented in this area as well. So good. Okay, excellent. Thank you, guys. Question around Scottish Heat Network scheme. Seems to only work with councils. Seems to be no way for a community-led group to be credible enough for significant funding, i.e. multi-million. Well, so any idea on vehicle or funders to enable large community schemes to get going? Well, if I could give a couple of examples, I mean, obviously, you know, in terms of the development finance needed or that feasibility finance, there are people like Power to Change. Someone else has listed a grant scheme further on in the chat. There is Community England website, which is always good to look at, because they will give you information on potentially if there's any grant schemes available. People like MCS Charitable Foundation, and also some of the more general foundations in the UK like Esme Fairburn or Joseph Rowntree, to name a few. In terms of the size of community energy, I think what we're seeing is that there is no limit to size actually, or ambition, and the community benefit society model, it serves really well. If you're bringing together multiple parties, there are now beginning to be aggregation models which are proving themselves, such as the Community Energy Together, which bring in senior lenders, more institutional finance into this market, whilst allowing the community to find their feet and grow and build, and then eventually pay back that senior debt. So yeah, I think sky's the limit, really. Anyone else want to chip in there? Okay, let's move on to the next question. So we've got lots of good examples in there, which is really great. And Karina, I appreciate you haven't come in. Are there any of these questions specifically that you would like to talk to? Please just chip in.
No, I was reading a few earlier. They're a bit more specific on, community energy directly or community energy groups, which we're kind of, on the periphery of. Obviously, we're trying to, with the, our campaign is trying to change how these groups would actually get a fair price, but nothing too specific. I think someone said that my potentially the figures I was giving, the 3 pence per kilowatt hour versus, or 5 pence per kilowatt hour versus the 30 that you get back, might be a bit off. So I apologize about that. It is, I think at some point I was speaking to a community energy group last weekend at an event in Faversham. I was talking to Kent Community Energy. I think one of them was saying that they get 2.5 pence per kilowatt hour or something like that. So apologies if I got that wrong, either one way or the other.
So Karina, it helps. We set up an export contract quite recently for one of our schools, and it was around 9 pence.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's coming down. Last year they were particularly high, the export rates, but it's certainly coming down, and it probably will disappear completely unless
well,
we do need to look as communities at ways that we can, as you were saying, improve the returns that you're getting from the total generation of your renewable assets. So but hopefully that gives as well people some idea of what they might be able to see.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
And I think that is a point which is important, and why perhaps you're beginning to see these more integrated schemes where you're pulling in, battery, and you're pulling in EV, because that helps to make the whole business model more robust with the money that's generated through the sale of electricity. So I think are we going through maybe like community energy 2.0, or have we already advanced now to like 5.0 or something? I don't know, but much more sophisticated schemes, which is really interesting. And the microgrids that we were talking about earlier as well, a lot more of those starting to bubble up, and some people getting some good grant money to be able to sort of look at the feasibility of those, which is really important. Someone's asked a question around potentially the potential of their own community energy scheme in Sheffield. I guess probably looking at the Community Energy England website again, there are good resources to look at different developers and people who you can have a conversation with to look at the feasibility of those. Any other questions that people would like to quickly dive in on?
There was a question, somebody wanted to talk about barriers. And I mean, we haven't got time to cover that here. That's a whole separate workshop, really. But, I wouldn't start with a big project. I wouldn't start with a wind turbine under the current planning organisation. I probably wouldn't start with a hydro. I probably wouldn't start with a ground-mounted, solar farm, because all of those do have significant barriers and difficulties to overcome and are likely to tie you up for a few years. It's undoubtedly that rooftop solar is I'm not saying it's easy, but it hasn't got the same barriers to it as the other three technologies would have. Start at a smaller scale, and as your society develops confidence, you can grow, or talk to somebody like Solar for Schools or the big solar co-op who are doing this, over a wider area rather than setting up your own society.
Yes, good point. Thanks, Dave. So thank you to everyone for being on the panel today. If you'd like more information on Solar for Schools or Bristol Energy Co-op, you can go to the Ethex website or the individual websites of those entities. Loads of great information for you there. Dave will be seeing you on the platform soon with all of the rest of the gang as part of this brilliant collaboration as Community Energy Together. So we're really excited about that. That's coming up soon. Everybody, please rewind to the bit that Karina was talking about, what you need to do to start lobbying. That's brilliant. And yes, thank you to Tim at Power to Change as well for supporting the sector and coming along today. Someone asked a question about, I'm sure more people would like to be involved in investment but are unaware of Ethex. Do you have any more plans for more promotions? Please do tell all of your friends and family about Ethex and all the brilliant projects that we support. And yes, we'd very much like to support more and more projects and to for everybody to know about us. So spread the word far and wide.
I think the Community Energy Together launch later this summer, because it's so much larger. Well, we are working on national publicity for that, which hopefully will make people more aware of community energy and of Ethex. Exactly.
Perfect. Thank you all again for joining. Thanks everyone for listening and contributing. We'll send out a follow-up email. Have the rest of a brilliant day. See you later.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.